What does a typical day on your planet look like?
There are no typical days. They are all atypical, and I suppose they're typical in that way. I do, personally, many different things. Contacting other civilizations, creating art, many different things. Different beings go about doing different things that excite them and come together when they need to, in perfect synchronicity, when they need to come together, without planning. As we said, it is very quiet because it is mostly telepathic. There are sounds in the forests of animals and such. They are similar to some degree to yours, but not exactly. All our animals are symbiotic. There is no predation. Do you understand?
What is predation?
Predators.
Oh, okay.
There are no predators. There are only symbiotes on our planet. Nothing in that sense feeds off another to the point of death. You follow?
Yeah.
All right. We go about doing many different things. There are trainings for those that come into the idea of being first contact specialists like myself. There are field trips to other worlds. There are journeys on spaceships. There are communions with nature in a variety of ways. Gatherings of beings of all types in a variety of ways. Inventing of things and creation of things and games in a variety of ways. There are many things.
Are there, like here, there's class systems. There's poor people, there's rich people, there's middle class.
No, we don't have that.
And so people can just really do what they want to do.
Yes, the entire civilization is completely run and organized by synchronicity. People are where they need to be, when they need to be there, with whom they need to be, to learn what they need to learn, to get what they need to get. It works automatically because we all operate that way. You ride the wave. So our civilization, we all ride the wave. It's that simple.
And does that mean, too, so if you live about 300 years, if someone passes away, are you not as devastated as we are in humans because you know you're riding the wave and everything is a different
Well,
thing?
yes, and we're also not devastated because we don't lose contact with them. They've just shifted into another state that we can still communicate with.
Okay, awesome.
And so can you.
Essassani are ascended compared to us and don't make mistakes or get impatient. Is that true? And can you explain this difference and why the Pleiadians would send such a message?
That is a misinterpretation to some degree. Yes, Pleiadians can make mistakes in the sense that you understand that term, but they don't relate to them as mistakes. They relate to them in the way that we do, as simply new information that can be applied in given situations. They don't have the idea of unrequited love. They do not experience that in that way. Can they be sad? Yes, they can be. But they don't really experience things in the way that that person is describing. That's a little bit of filtering coming through the human persona. But the idea is they are certainly of a higher vibration than many people on your planet. If you want to say they are ascended because they are on a higher frequency, then certainly you can say that. But they are more similar to you than we are. They are, again, your genetic cousins. They are very much like you in many ways, but they are the fourth density version, and therefore are more like what humanity is evolving into as physical beings in a fourth density state. So, no, it's not as pronounced as the way that was described in terms of what they experience emotionally, but they are a little bit more like you. They can experience a little bit more of a range of emotions in that sense. Something that you can relate to more easily. Yet they are still seemingly, from your perspective, more advanced in their emotional qualities.
The idea of the YahYel, or in our ancient language, the Shalanaya, which simply means the first ones, will be that they were created last of the 5 hybrid races. And in being created last, in being, in a sense, the newest version to be created, they are more similar to your human beings than we are, and much more similar to your human beings than the first hybrid race is. So in that sense, that is why they will be the first ones you will meet, so as to buffer your experience of extraterrestrial contact with a civilization that has a lot of similarity to you. So it will not be too alien for you to assimilate the idea of interacting with them. In time, you will meet the other hybrid races. We, again, in the balanced position, in the center point, being the third hybrid race created, will be the third race that you will encounter of the hybrids.
Arcturians are not a physical species in the way you understand that. They're higher dimensional forms of consciousness. They are participating in the transformation of your world in a very specific way. They create what we have termed loosely as the Arcturus gate. The Arcturus gate is a particular vibrational frequency that is taken on by many of the new beings being born on your planet for the past few decades. That frequency allows them to maintain a stronger connection to their indestructible core, and they don't forget as much of who they are in coming into the physical incarnation on your planet. They have, because of that frequency connection to the Arcturus gate, more of a strong guidance system that even should there be a lot of things that could distract them from side to side in terms of the belief systems of Earth, they don't go quite as far with that. They maintain a more even keel going through their lives because they do not forget as much of who they are.
Where did the praying mantis originate?
Their progenitors, which are not what they are, but that which gave them form, emerged from what you would recognize as, in your language, the black hole at the center of your galaxy. From where before that, in space and time, there is not language to translate, but of a dimension you do not understand except in your deepest, darkest dreams, not meaning that in a negative way. There is a substance of consciousness and intention in that reality that is the knife edge of intention itself, the precision of focus beyond what you can imagine in human terms, a single-mindedness of existence beyond anything that your multi-dimensional, multi-purpose, multi-expressive human consciousness would ever deem to be something that could exist and still allow there to be intelligence behind it. Yet it is a burning intelligence, a burning focus of consciousness, a dimension unto itself that gave birth to several kinds of forms, one form of which, emerging through these gateways you call black holes, formed the progenitors for what you now know as the founders, which are different than the progenitors, but based on silicon as a life form.
The idea is that there was a naturally evolved hominid being that existed on your planet as part of its natural evolution, and genetically it was altered by an extraterrestrial race to become what you now understand yourself to be as Homo sapien.
Can you tell me what that extraterrestrial race was?
Well, you refer to them as the Anunnaki. But the idea is that the way things happened back then was ultimately found out by the majority of the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki contingent that was on your planet who was doing those genetic alterations was recalled because it was understood that much of what they were doing was not within the integrity of the Anunnaki people. And so you were left to your own devices with some guidance now and then, in a sense to attempt to course correct the idea of what that contingent has done and allow you to grow and evolve as a species in balance. Of course, it's been what you would call a little bit of a rocky road. Nevertheless, you are now allowing some of the genetic markers that were shut off within you to open up, because remember, you all contain Anunnaki genes. And now you're beginning to open those markers for a variety of reasons, and now beginning to reclaim more of your true birthright and functioning more like the Anunnaki.
Are there any Anunnaki either here physically on Earth or communicating telepathically with anyone here?
Not in their original form contemporarily, unless you are referring to the Greys as the devolved result of a certain branch of Anunnaki. A faction of the Anunnaki set up shop, if you will, on a planet, and ultimately created catastrophes in their world that ultimately resulted in the devolution of themselves into the form you now understand as the Grey.
Right, I actually knew that. Okay.
So in that sense, they are still, to some degree, Anunnaki, though they now require the idea of the genetic material that they utilize to create the human body to begin with to reinforce their own race and create the hybrid species so that they can incarnationally continue. So in that sense, I suppose if you want to simply talk about it incarnationally, you and we together are also offshoots of Anunnaki.
Yes, exactly.
At least to some degree genetically.
Are there any ones from what we would perceive from our past that are here now that have
From time to time they do peer in, yes. From time to time they have participated in certain things, yes. It is not that common. From time to time this has been done, yes. It is not that common.
Okay. And when
some of what individuals have called the large Nordics are to some degree representative of some of the ancient Anunnakis.
The story of my people began in a parallel reality on an alternate version of Earth. The humans on that Earth were technologically far in advance of the humans in your civilization. However, they became focused on technology and intellect. Over generations, they lost connection to their humanity. They lost the ability to feel. They even lost the ability to reproduce. They engineered love out of their lives. They accomplished great technological and intellectual feats at the expense of their emotions, their physical bodies, and their spiritual qualities, which they considered to be inferior. But in doing so, they slowly destroyed their environment. In a last desperate attempt to perpetuate their species, they moved underground and began to clone themselves, but discovered that their DNA was no longer viable. When the attempt to clone themselves failed, they genetically mutated themselves into the beings you know as the Greys in an attempt to adapt to their dying planet. However, they realized that the only solution would be to find a viable source of human DNA and introduce it back into their genetic makeup. They used their advanced technology to shift into parallel realities, such as your own, where they knew that humans must still exist. But without emotions, they had no understanding of the fearful impact they would have as they abducted your people and extracted DNA in order to create our hybrid civilizations, which took centuries to complete. We were designed to bring emotionality and spirituality, vitality and balance back into the Grey civilization, to reconnect more fully with creation so their culture would never die out.
Okay, and could you clarify the differences between the Greys that you're referring to and the Zeta Reticuli?
As we have mentioned from time to time, there are many factions of Greys. And the reason for this primarily is that when we talked about the idea of Greys coming from a parallel version of Earth and other parallel realities, you must understand that there are a multitude of Greys from different parallel realities that come through to different versions of Earth. So you have a mix of Greys, in a sense, that come from different origin points, all interacting to some degree in what you consider to be your reality. So the Greys that are connected to Zeta Reticuli are not exactly the same Greys that are involved primarily in our creation, in the idea of the hybridization agenda. So it gets a little bit confusing because some can cross over from one agenda to another from time to time. But there are many factions of Greys that come from many different parallel realities, all coexisting simultaneously in what you consider to be your timeline.
In your exploration of the universe, when you come across negative ETs, How do you deal with them?
We mostly leave them alone. Because again, we can observe, but they do not match our frequency. So there's no effect upon us to witness them, to observe them. But the idea is that we recognize they may be at a certain stage in their journey, in their evolution. And most of the ones in that sense that truly are expressing negativity in that way, the way you're asking it, aren't really out here among the stars. They're usually relatively either planet-bound or solar system-bound. They don't usually reach too much farther. This is kind of one of the reasons for the intelligence of the space between the stars. It's almost the same kind of idea that you do when you quarantine people so that the disease cannot spread. So the fact that the stars to you are so far apart, unless you finally understand exactly how to span that gulf in an efficient way as we have and other civilizations have, you usually remain relatively bound to your own solar system and cannot spread the negative infection, so to speak. So the idea of your science fiction, where the negative beings can create a negative empire and go around and conquer a bunch of planets, usually can only happen within a very small amount of space, relatively speaking. They can reach other planets perhaps and do things like that, but it's a relatively limited experience within the universe that we have found, because they just can't get much farther.
Now, this story of the Orion systems took a long time to work itself through. There were resistances, what you would call underground movements, in the Orion systems, fighting against the suppression, fighting against the oppression, fighting against the negativity. The translation of those resistance fighters in your language would be the Black League. The Black League took their name as the idea of being invisible, being in the dark, being hidden, being surreptitious, so they could fight the fight they believed they had to fight against the oppressive governments of the ancient Orion systems. However, one of the very great lessons they learned in that time was the idea that if you fight fire with fire, you just get more fire. And the idea of using the same violent tactics against the government that the government was using against them did not really work out very well for that resistance movement, and it created an increase in the suppression and an increase in the negativity, and thus they learned that there must be another way. And in learning that there must be another way, they began to approach the idea of the negativity with positive energy, positive vibrations, and over time slowly transform the Orion systems from darkness into light, from negative into positive. So what we are talking about working on here today with the concept of flipping the switch and using the concept of your shifting through parallel realities to get a better bead on the idea, a more precise understanding of the idea of manifesting the parallel reality you prefer, is to focus on the idea of creating a greater degree of difference than you normally do, so that you will be able to feel the shift, to see the shift, to perceive the shift more viscerally, more concretely. And the idea, thus then, is to allow yourself the opportunity to let go of the definitions that you have been brought up to believe are necessary for the labeling and defining and designing of the parallel realities that you do already automatically experience, so that you can design, in a sense, the parallel reality that is more in alignment with the parallel realities or sequence of parallel realities that you prefer, that are more representative of your true nature, your true core frequency, your true natural self, your true vibration. Here's what you can begin to do. Just have an overall image, an overall representation of your life as it is. In whatever way that comes to you, just to paint a picture, like you're looking at a movie screen if you wish, and just see up on that screen, see yourself, see an image of you, going about the things that you are already doing in life. Nothing different than what you're already doing. It can be anything on a day-to-day basis, this and that, big or small, doesn't matter. Just see yourself as you are. Now, when you are ready, blank the screen, wipe the screen. Now, replace it with an image of yourself going about your day-to-day business in what you consider to be, for now, your preferred, desired, ideal reality, your ideal life. Fill that movie screen with your image and look at all the things, create all the things in it that are representative of what the things are you would be going about doing in your ideal life, your ideal reality. Some of them may be the same. Some of them may be different. Whatever it is, just take a look at it. Now, in your mind's eye, put those two screens side by side or one above the other. Look at one screen that represents your life as it is. Look at the other image on the other screen that represents your life as you would prefer it to be. Notice the differences. Notice the differences. Notice the similarities, but notice the differences. Whatever differences you noticed, from small to large, are the things that represent vibrationally, symbolically, representationally, that ideal life. Whatever symbol you conjured up represents vibrationally that preferred parallel reality. Because that is a real, already existing parallel reality. And that version of you in that reality already exists as a real person in that universe, in that reality, which is a completely different reality than the screen that represents your life as it is right now. Again, allow yourself to remember the differences, but understand that these two realities coexist right now, simultaneously, interpenetrated, overlapping, only separated by the slightest difference in vibrational energy. Now, it may be a slight difference, but if the picture looks very different, then it is a difference that is enough of a difference in vibration that you are noticing the difference. And that's the key. Different enough that you notice the difference. Different enough so that it's not in your mind, as you are used to experiencing, a smooth continuity from one second to the next, but would be representative of some time passing in between. In other words, some of you might see the image of the life as it is now, see the image of the life that you prefer, and you might automatically find yourself assuming that it would require some span of time in order for one to change to the other. The thing to understand is that it actually, in a sense, requires less time than you think, and in fact actually uses no time at all. When you decide, when you choose to actually be that person in that reality, it will happen instantaneously as a shift from whatever parallel reality you were experiencing a moment before that. But you can create the illusion of process, the illusion of time lag, the illusion of linear continuity to make it seem as if it's taking time to become or experience that reality. But that reality exists right now. So manifestation in this context is simply the degree to which you are willing to allow the definition, no matter how different it looks, to actually be real right now. To know that it exists right now and most importantly, in this particular permission slip, to be willing to actually be that person in that representation right now. When you go back now and look at the two images you created, and if you see differences in them, one of the differences you will probably see is a difference in how you behave in the two realities. Many people on your planet, when they imagine themselves going through their day-to-day existence as it is now, and then imagine themselves going through their day-to-day existence in the reality they prefer, will suddenly realize there is a great degree of difference in your behavior, in your body language, in what you're wearing, in your attitude, in your energy. Look at the difference in you in those two images. It is important to understand the following. This principle is paramount here. You cannot experience what you are not already the vibration of. So the idea is, if you see that version of you in that preferred ideal reality doing certain things, the you are now is not capable of experiencing those things unless you actually start being the person in that image. If you don't behave like that person, dress like that person, talk like that person, walk like that person, think like that person, feel like that person, you will not experience the things that person is experiencing, because that is not just a different version of you. It is a different person, literally, entirely. And you, the greater you, as a consciousness, can shift between the person you're experiencing yourself to be now and the person that is represented in that ideal scenario. That you, the bigger you, the consciousness that you are, will be the same, but the person, the physical construct, the temporary personality that you consider yourself to be as a physical being will literally not be the same person, because you are not the same person from moment to moment to moment to moment. As we already said, billions and billions of times a second, you're actually becoming literally, quite literally, not metaphorically, quite literally, a new person billions of times a second. The idea again here is to pay attention consciously to the fact that you can design the person, design the reality to be different enough so that you can actually tell the difference, that it is really a different reality, a different you, a different universe. And that's what this exercise is designed to do, is look at the differences so that you can know that when you shift, you're shifting totally, utterly, totally, and instantaneously. There is no real time lag at all between becoming one reality and another, between experiencing yourself as one person and another. None whatsoever. But you can create this continuity, this illusion that there is, or you can start to let that go. Now, it will not let go entirely, of course, as long as you still have a reason to experience the physical reality idea at all. We are not talking about eliminating it completely, although from time to time, as you do these kinds of exercises, as you gain this kind of insight and this kind of knowledge, you may find space and time becoming a little more slippery. You may find things happening very rapidly, maybe sometimes even instantaneously here and there. This will be somewhat sporadic, but it can accelerate. Nevertheless, you will still retain some sense of space-time in order to have a context in which to experience the idea you call physical reality, but you can allow your experience of it to become something far more different than what you're experiencing now, accelerate it far more rapidly than what you're experiencing now. Again, not literally accelerating it. When I say accelerate it, I mean experience as if you were accelerating, because you're already shifting as fast as you can. You're already shifting totally. So you can't shift more than you do. You can't shift faster than you do. What you can change is your perception, your experience of the idea, so that you can become aware of the fact that you are shifting totally, shifting instantaneously. That's the whole idea to this exercise, to become aware of the fact that you're already shifting totally, already shifting instantaneously, and you can't go any faster. The way, as we said, to recognize that is to create a parallel reality that is different enough that you notice that you're shifting immediately and totally. So the idea is, as you see that image and you see that version of you there, start from this moment forward, from this day forward. Start being, start behaving, start mimicking that version of you. Because that's what your imagination, that's what your visualization is for, is to create the state. Because if you really, really are having an image in your mind that's representative of your ideal reality, not only will the you, the version of you in that picture, look excited, you'll start to feel excited about that reality. You'll feel that energy now. It will start to leak into you from that image. That's what it's for. That's its job, to put you in the proper state that is representative of the ideal reality, no matter how that reality actually will appear physically.
All right.
First question is from an individual who is saying their wife passed away last Friday, and the person feels overwhelmed. They have 2 children, and they feel guilty and responsible for their lives to move on, as well as since they no longer have a mother figure. And the person's been crying all week, and they're trying to be strong for their children. Do you have any advice for this person? Is there something that their wife or their spirit guide wants them to know? And is this part of their process of going through the eye of the needle? How do they proceed from here?
All right. Well, we are not going to necessarily interrupt their grieving period. They must let go of their fear-based beliefs about the situation in whatever timing they feel they can manage. But at the same time, know that this was all done in terms of an arrangement of timing, and that the loved one in spirit can still aid and assist and send messages and love to those still physical. But the idea is guilt does not serve the children that you are responsible for. It will actually prevent you from giving them what they need. There is no reason for you to be guilty. The idea is that this would not necessarily have come to pass if you couldn't handle it, if this wasn't by an arrangement and an agreement. We would suggest you reach out to your wife, knowing that the sooner you can relax the feelings of grief, use an opportunity for you to align with spirit more strongly, to receive more messages from her, to receive guidance from her and your spirit guides in terms of what you and the children may require for your continuation on earth. And know that she is always with you, unconditionally loving, sending energy, sending help. More likely you will receive these in dream time. But look around with open eyes at the synchronicities in your life, knowing that many of them may be coming from her as messages to you. Relax your heart and open your heart to receive these messages in the best way you possibly can by looking around and being alert and paying attention to the synchronicities that will crop up in your life, allowing you to move forward in an easier way. We would suggest that you take some time for yourself to visit places that were of interest to both of you when she was alive, knowing that in those places that you love to be together in, there may be more receptivity on your part. And even though you may be crying, know that this is a release and a letting go and an accepting eventually, of the situation at hand that you have both agreed to, for the purpose of stretching you and your children towards spirit, knowing that one of the parents is now in spirit, can help you all progress and ascend and accelerate your learning and your lives and enrich your lives in a number of ways. Explore the idea with your children of communication with spirit, for it is as real as any form of communication, and perhaps in some cases even more real, as you understand that term. But work together with the children to open up in beautiful places to the idea that you can receive messages through synchronicity and in dreams, and maybe in other ways as well. And remember her favorite things. For when you do remember her favorite things, again, you may relax and open your heart to receive more information from her. These would be the things for now that we would suggest to help you through this particular period until such time as you yourself become more accustomed to realizing that as long as you consider this to be a loss, as long as you define it as a loss, then you will only continue to grieve each and every time that your wife may actually reach out to connect to you. You will only interpret her energy as a loss and feel more grief. But if you understand that sometimes what you may feel as grief is simply your interpretation that she is gone, instead of your interpretation that she is there with you and helping you, allow yourself to relax that definition so you can receive the help she is giving, the help she is sending, the information she is sharing with you. That will lead you forward. This is what we have to say at the moment.
What is the difference between guilt and responsibility when it comes to dealing with family members? I've tried to maintain the relationships, but they are no longer exciting. Continuing with these relationships feels heavy and burdening, yet I feel guilt for keeping my distance. I, of course, love them, yet prefer to focus on my own self-discovery. Can you help me in this scenario?
Now, there are two ways to address this. Number one, if you feel it is absolutely true for you to not interact physiologically with these people because you are vibrationally so incompatible that it simply makes no sense to do so, that is a choice you can make. And again, by doing so, it can be the most loving thing you can do by showing them the consequences of not choosing to match your frequency and maintaining the connection on their part. At the same time, if you truly are in touch with yourself and the vibrational state you know is true for you, then in some senses it wouldn't necessarily matter if you maintain a connection physically with them, because it won't affect you. You will not feel guilty, you will just be yourself, and you will know that you're acting as a living example to demonstrate to them different choices they could make. Whether they choose to do so or not is not the point. The point is that you may give them a choice, you may give them an opportunity to choose something different by maintaining a physical connection and not being affected by anything that is vibrationally incompatible with what you prefer to be. But again, it is up to you to decide when you have reached a limit, when you have realized that they may simply not choose to change and may in fact actually push you away by resenting the idea of what you are showing them. And that might be your signal that physical connection may need to cease. So you need to simply prepare yourself to make a choice by first and foremost getting a stronger connection in yourself about what is true for you. Feeling guilty about this will only connect you more to the vibration you say is incompatible and that you don't prefer. So that makes no sense for you to feel the sense of guilt, because all you're doing is accepting the idea that they resent that you are changing. They resent that you are different, perhaps because it acts as an example to them of things they were not willing to face within themselves. You can act as a living example if you maintain your vibration of preference, but again, you don't have to, because even if you don't, it still serves as an indication to them of what choices they have made and the consequences of those choices relative to maintaining a physical relationship with you. So if they wish to do so, they would have to change. Not that they will, but they would have to do so.
How does that apply in a situation where a person has had an abusive childhood and now their aging parents are requiring their support and their attention, and the person feels guilty because they're not willing to be physically present with their parents under the circumstances because of the past?
Again, it's the same that we just said. If you maintain a strong sense of your vibration and at the same time realize that you can be of some assistance to someone, if it is truly true that they need that assistance, you must make that determination for yourself as opposed to things they can do for themselves or not. So if you have determined that you have made a familial connection by being born to these people, and that there is something you could truly help them with to aid and assist them in whatever they're going through, whatever process they're going through, and yet at the same time maintain the strength of your connection to who you truly are, then you will not be negatively affected by whatever behaviors they may choose to exhibit, knowing that you are being of great assistance to them if they truly need it, and that is the most important thing, is to demonstrate to them the unconditional love that you know can be expressed by you to truly aid and assist them if they truly require it, and at the same time not be negatively affected by whatever their reactions or responses or behaviors may be in that circumstance and situation. And it gives you an opportunity to practice letting go of the idea of the past, since again, if you realize many of the things we have been sharing with all of you, there in a sense is no such thing. You are recreating the idea of abuse in every moment in the present out of your own need to do so. So discontinue your need to hang on to the idea of the abuse because of your belief systems that you may require it for some reason, that it serves you in some way. And when you let that go, you will be able to stand in the face of great opposition, and you will be able to face those fires with coolness and calm them down within yourself, regardless of what the other people may choose to do.
And we've noticed that often when parents get elderly, they get early signs of dementia or behaviors that could be suggestive of dementia. And that part of that can be being abusive and impossible to deal with, in a sense, irrational in their behavior. Is that, again, this idea of stepping outside of the issues of abuse from the past and simply recognizing that the person is not themselves, in a sense?
Yes.
When they're elderly.
Yes, and if they are experiencing the symptoms you have described, they are usually making their transition, whether quickly or slowly, into spirit, but they may be momentarily confused about what is real, because they are bordering two realities, the physical and the non-physical. And therefore, you can recognize and excuse their behavior as one of confusion. And again, if you stay strong within yourself and know what your truth is, it will not affect you any more than a stranger making an irrational statement would, because they have become strangers to you and you to them in many ways.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about the inherent guilt surrounding religion? This person says, I was brought up in a Jewish tradition, and it's been a long road in terms of shedding guilt. Guilt if you're happy, guilt if you're healthy, guilt if you're wealthy, guilt if the other shoe is going to drop. I would love for you to talk about untangling this kind of guilt.
All right. Well, first and foremost, it's not inherent. It's taught. That's a major distinction to make. And therefore, it can be untaught. It's simply about recognizing whether or not the guilt serves you. As we have talked about the motivational mechanism, please do remember, you absolutely do nothing that you don't believe serves you in some way. So this is about really doing an honest, deep investigation of what it is you believe you're getting out of having the guilt. What does it allow you to experience or not experience that makes you feel safer in having it than in letting it go? This requires a very deep and honest investigation of self in order to admit that if you're holding on to guilt and keep repeating it, no matter how much you were taught it, if you're now able to discern the difference between guilt and freedom, guilt and love, then you have the ability to dive into your motivational mechanism and ask yourself why you would be motivated to continue to perpetuate something if it doesn't really serve you. Because the only way you would keep feeling it is if you believe it does. So it requires a lot of transparent self-investigation to ask the question, what am I getting out of continuing to hold on to guilt? There must be something about holding on to it that makes me feel safer than the alternative. And if you're willing to investigate and go down that path, you will eventually be able to pick it apart and figure out why you're holding on to the guilt, because you think there's some advantage to doing so. Otherwise, you would not feel it at all.
How can we be at peace with the idea that we may have hurt, wronged, or made mistakes with others along the way on our learning journey? How can we release those feelings of guilt and regret about the impact we've had on other lives that may have been negative so that we can move forward in a more aligned way?
Well, the idea is self-forgiveness and the recognition that if you know you made a mistake, so to speak, and are willing to correct it in your own energy and not make the same mistake again and not be abusive to other people in that way because you recognize it is out of alignment with who you prefer to be, then you have corrected the energy and there's no reason for guilt. Guilt perpetuates the idea of the misalignment. So why would you hold on to the idea of misalignment if you recognize that you were misaligned and don't prefer to be misaligned anymore in your behaviors and actions? Why hold on to any remnant of the misalignment, which you would experience as guilt if you truly wish to move forward? If you recognize you were misaligned and have a desire to realign yourself and correct the mistake in some way, shape, or form, then there is no vestige of guilt that would remain if you've actually done that. So you can't really move forward until you accept that you made a mistake and now you wish to correct the mistake and the energy within yourself and bring yourself back into alignment.
And along those lines, are there any experiences that are more or less spiritual than others? Is it possible to do a good, bad, better, or worse job with our lifetime? And is there really a mistake? Can we really get this wrong? A lot of these ideas perhaps bring about a lot of self-judgment, so that's why this person is asking the question.
Ultimately, no. You are not judged by all that is or anything except yourself. Ultimately. But there is still the ability to recognize what it is you prefer, what it is you don't, what it is that is vibrationally representative and compatible with who you prefer to be, and when you are in alignment or out of alignment with that. That is the only thing that could be considered a mistake, even though it's not meant in the traditional sense. In other words, a mistake is simply a recognition, an alignment energy that allows you to recognize that you may have been out of alignment with who you really, truly, at your core, are and prefer to be. Oneness and alignment and harmony with all that is. So a mistake, ultimately, no, is something that can be used as a learning experience, a teaching experience, to reflect back to you that you may not necessarily be operating in the state of being you prefer to. And in that sense, if you learn the lesson from that and recognize the truth of that and bring yourself back into alignment, then you have used the so-called mistake in a way that makes it not a mistake, because you've used it in a way that brings you back into harmony, into alignment. So ultimately, no. But in the moment, you can simply recognize and use your words, whatever words you wish to use to identify the misalignment, to bring yourself back into alignment.
Okay, and...
Hi, Bashar.
Anna, you good day.
First, I just want to say you rock.
Well, we're in a good town for that, yes.
Pun intended.
Oh, right, thank you.
And I just think you're awesome. You know, ever since...
Only some awe?
I think you're way awesome.
Full of awe.
Full of awe.
Making us awful.
And you're funny. I think I need to learn how to lighten up more, but
That is the key to enlightenment. Learning how to lighten up on yourself.
Exactly. And that's really cool because that dovetails into what I want to talk about.
How synchronous of you.
And I seem to have a lucky story. I'm at the right place at the right time a lot in my life.
Yes.
And it's getting more and more, and I'm super stoked about that.
Synchronicity increases in that way when you are more in alignment with yourself. It is one of the symptoms of the fourth density transformation, yes.
And I mean, you've changed my life.
No, you've changed your life.
Well, your words and your willingness to
It is our pleasure to reflect to you what you already knew but forgot. So thank you for remembering and changing your life.
So with that, I have started to, for the first time in my life, follow my passion.
How exciting!
I'm like really stoked about. And so now I'm in this gorgeous gallery here in Sedona.
All right.
And I've earned this PhD in applied statistics, and it so doesn't resonate with what I'm doing right now, and that's totally okay with me.
Yes.
And the deal is that I knew that I was always an artist in my heart and soul.
Yes.
And I put it like on the top shelf.
Oh, all right.
And so now I'm in these gorgeous, fine art galleries.
Yes.
And I'm working with this crystal in there. I'd like for you perhaps to talk about that if you would be so kind.
Crystal?
Yeah, there's a crystal in the gallery, and
it's a permission slip like anything else.
Yeah, okay. That's exactly what
You understand that concept?
Yeah, intuitively. I don't know if I understand it as much logically, but I do intuitively.
All right. Well, permission slip is simply any tool, any technique, any ritual, any object that allows you to give yourself permission to be more of who you are.
And
it aligns with your belief system in a way that allows you to believe that it acts as the catalyst, as the trigger, to simply give yourself permission.
Yeah, okay. And so as I'm more and more allowing myself to have permission to be the highest version of myself.
Yes.
Reinventing during this year, this really crucial year.
Yes.
All these incredible tools that you have disseminated or, brought through. Well, I'm in the gallery, I'm selling the art off the walls, and now there's this voice within me that's like, hey, I can do this. Like there's this artist in me.
Yes.
And I'm being asked, I really do think, I'm being asked to be an example because I'm starting to see some shadow sides of the artist.
Yes.
And things that I have judgment on.
No, all right.
And
giving you an opportunity to reveal to yourself those things that might be out of alignment so you can bring them back into alignment. Yes.
For him or for me?
For yourself always, or acting as an example for others if they need to do that for themselves.
Okay, so then I'm on this roll, I'm seeing this now, and now what's going on is like, I feel like I'm begging them for money, like for a commission.
You don't have to beg.
I know, and so I'm going down and I'm looking in my heart and soul, why am I feeling like I have to beg for what I deserve?
Yes, well, why?
I don't know.
You do.
Well, I know about core beliefs,
yes.
And I know about investigating them, but I seem to somehow have this voice in me that
says
I'm a piece of shit or something, and I don't know why.
All right, well, as we discussed in the pre-recorded section, that is the voice of the critic. It is the father of lies. Yes?
Yes.
Well, why do you believe the lie? What makes the lie seem so convincing?
Maybe because I haven't allowed myself to know what's on the other side of that lie.
And what do you imagine is on the other side of the lie?
A life of that it keeps just getting better and better.
And why is that difficult to believe? We have, for some time now, reminded many of you that one of the greatest shocks you will all have in this age of transformation is that what you have always been taught as a fairy tale is actually the way life works. So we understand that can come as a shock.
Yeah, what it comes as when I'm feeling through it, is like the other shoe's going to drop. Like somehow, and again, I know these are beliefs. And
That's all right. You need to perhaps learn the permission slip, the very powerful permission slip, that very mighty, mighty 2-word meditation. You know it? Would you like us to tell you the 2-word meditation?
Yeah.
So what? So the other shoe drops. So what? It's always an opportunity to neutralize the situation and to give it the meaning you prefer. Always. It doesn't matter how any circumstance is generated. It doesn't matter how anyone else's intention in the circumstance may be directed toward you. Every circumstance and every situation at every single moment is always an opportunity to neutralize it and imbue it with the meaning you prefer. Always. So it doesn't matter what happens, because so what? You can always neutralize it. You can always imbue it with a positive meaning. You can always get a beneficial effect out of it. So who cares what it is? Who cares how many shoes drop? Who cares if it's raining shoes? Who cares? Not you.
I love how you bring the shadow out.
Yes.
I love that about you. Well,
It's only by bringing the shadow out and balancing and equalizing it with the light that you get the opportunity to choose from a place of empowerment. When all things are equal, it's easy to choose which side you prefer without invalidating the side that you don't.
so are you saying then, like when I'm in that moment and I'm on a roll and I'm selling all this art off the walls,
Yes.
and I'm feeling like, yeah, but they haven't talked to me about commission, and yeah, but this, that and that point, the way to get neutral rather than go towards that critic, that negative
Yes.
part, is, well, first of all, to be as present as I can.
Absolutely, and to clearly state what it is you prefer, without fear, without judgment. Because it's all right to make a clear statement about what it is you prefer as a reciprocation.
Right.
It doesn't involve begging.
No.
It involves a clear statement of what you believe is equal to what it is you are doing. If someone isn't vibrationally aligned with that, you don't need to deal with them. You can deal with someone else.
I think that's where the kicker is, because I feel like I'm affected a lot by if others aren't in vibration, like the owners or, you know, anybody in life, then
Yes.
I feel out of control, and then
Yes.
I kind of take a couple steps back from that excitement and that
Yes,
that
but again,
manifestation.
remember, you cannot have any kind of a feeling experience if you don't have a definition you're not buying into first. You understand? If you're buying into the idea that what they're saying is true about you, then you're going to feel unworthy in that way. But the question is, why would you buy into it if you don't prefer to?
I think the question is, for me right now, is it's like time for me to be my highest version.
Yeah, well, that's
And-
not a question, that's a statement.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And there are things that are coming up simultaneously that are not my highest version.
That's all right. That's all right. Again, it's an opportunity to decide what you prefer. Sometimes you attract things that are not what you prefer, so that perhaps by contrast you get clarity on what you do prefer.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes, I do.
Every situation is an opportunity to clarify yourself. Every single one.
Wow.
Remember, excitement is a complete kit. When you act on the formula of excitement, the 3-part formula, you act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability with zero insistence or assumption as to the outcome or how you should get there. When you act on that 3-part formula, you open excitement up as a complete kit. That complete kit contains everything that you need to support you in continuing to act on your excitement. It becomes the driving engine of your life, moving you forward in your life in exactly the way you need to be moved. It becomes the organizing principle of your life, synchronistically arranging everything in the correct order you need to do it. It becomes the path of least resistance in your life so that you can simply flow where you need to flow. It becomes the thread that connects to all other expressions of excitement in your life to show you that everything is all interconnected in that way, and that one excitement will always lead to another. But to address what you just said, it also contains the reflective mirror to reflect to you what may be out of alignment with that excitement within you so that you can identify it consciously, integrate it, bring it back into alignment, and expand your excitement. So When you act on your excitement, one of its jobs, one of its duties, one of its abilities is to bring your attention to anything within you that is out of alignment so you can deal with it and bring it back into alignment to expand the excitement. So it's not going wrong if you're acting on your excitement and all these issues suddenly coming up. That means excitement's doing its job. The mechanism is working perfectly for you. Then the more you integrate, the more you align, the less you will need to see those things. It will smooth itself out. It's a self-perpetuating, self-guiding, self-correcting mechanism. It's unerring. Excitement is a complete kit. Complete, complete, complete. By definition, leaves nothing out that's relevant to your life. So whatever it brings you, if you're acting on your excitement, whatever it brings you, in whatever form it comes, must by definition be a part of your path of excitement, not an interruption in it. Make sense?
Yes.
Is this helping?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes, I have another thing.
Yes.
Okay. So, I wish I knew about you when I was young.
Why?
Because I feel like I have these patternings that are in me.
Nonsense.
What do you mean?
I'll tell you what I mean. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
The definition from our point of view of a pattern or a habit is something you do that you don't know you're doing. If you know you're doing it, it's not a pattern or a habit anymore. It's a choice. So you would ask the question, well, why would I choose something I don't prefer? Great question. Now you have something to work with. But if you just say, it's a pattern, it's a habit, I can't help it, you have nothing to work with.
So then, like someone...
One moment.
Okay, sorry.
One moment. That's all right.
Yeah.
Many people on your planet are taught to think, well, now that I've discovered the pattern, now that I've discovered the habit, now what do I do to let it go? The recognition of the pattern, the recognition of the habit is the end of the process, not the beginning of letting it go. You have to be outside the forest to look back and see that it was a forest. Otherwise, it's just trees. Do you understand?
Yes.
So when you say, oh, a habit, it's done, it's gone, because you're outside of it in order to be able to see it. If you keep doing the same thing, it's not because it's a habit, it's because you're choosing to. Why would you choose to do something you don't prefer? Because you have a definition attached to it that says it is the thing that benefits you the most. Does that make sense? Not at all. So find out what the definition is that makes no sense, that you've attached to the thing you prefer that prevents you from acting on it. That's how it works. You all have the same motivational mechanism. It's unerring, it's automatic, it's immediate. You use it flawlessly. There are no exceptions. You always move in the direction of what you believe benefits you. You always move away from what you believe does not. The issue is what you believe benefits you or what you believe does not. You can empirically, intellectually know that something is not beneficial and yet see yourself still choosing it. But the idea is the only reason you would do that is because somewhere in your motivational mechanism, you're telling yourself that the alternative is more frightening. You've somehow attached a definition to the thing you prefer that makes it actually seem to be the less scary thing to do. And so you stay with the thing you don't want to do because in your mind you have a definition that to be yourself is scarier. When you find out what that definition is that's making you run away from who you really are, and you identify it, you will see it's nonsensical and illogical and you'll drop it. And then you will move in the direction of what you prefer instead of in the direction of what you don't. But that's how that works. You need to reverse those definitions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And sometimes I hear you, and
Yes.
when I'm starting to really investigate these core beliefs, and
Yes.
I think I've gotten one.
Yes.
And then it's like a rabbit hole or like a black
Yes.
hole.
There are many secondary and tertiary beliefs that may be attached to the core belief, and sometimes you can find a secondary one and you can let it go, but if you keep doing the same thing, what that tells you is you haven't found the core yet. Dig deeper.
Well, I'm asking this because I feel like I hear you.
Yes.
Would you guide me in that?
These things usually are issues wrapped around the idea of self-worth.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you deserve what you say you deserve? Are you an exception to the rule?
I don't know. No, I'm not an exception to the rule, but I was going to go to counseling. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is.
Do you feel unworthy of certain things?
I must.
You don't have to assume so.
Well, I kind of do, because I keep coming to this. There's like this diametrically opposed. I manifest awesome stuff.
Yes.
And then on this other
All right, one moment.
Yeah.
Let's examine that more specifically, very briefly.
Okay.
The things that you manifest, that you say are in alignment with who you prefer to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that feels like.
Yes, I do.
You know what that's like. The things that you say you're having some struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between those two things in your mind, in your definitions? If you're manifesting here, if you're in alignment here, what reason are you creating to make this in your life different from that in your life? What's the definitional difference between the things you manifest and the things that you don't? Can you answer that question?
That's a big question.
Oh, all right.
The definitional difference.
Yes.
It probably ties back to worthiness, and for some...
But why are you worthy in certain cases and not in others, is what we're asking you. What's the difference between those two situations that you find yourself worthy in one and not in the other? What's the definitional difference?
I don't know.
Sure you do. Why is this okay and that's not?
Maybe in the tertiary, the deep, deep parts of the core belief, I
Yes.
just feel like I can't have it all.
Thank you. Why not?
I don't know.
Who said? Where is that written? Let me help you clarify.
I would love for you to help me clarify.
You're never going to have it all, but you're going to have all of what is relevant for you. That's the difference. You don't need all of it, because all of it's not relevant for who you are. But every single thing that is, you can have all of that. Why would you want anything that's not relevant? So unchain those definitions and make them more specific for you. You don't need it all. So who cares if you never get it all? Everything you need, you will have all of. Yes?
Yeah.
Does this help?
Yes, it does very much.
You deserve everything that's relevant for you. You don't need the things that aren't. But you don't have to wrap up the issue of lack of deservability into the idea that the irrelevant things won't come to you. They're irrelevant. So why even attach the issue of deservability to them? You don't need them. You could say, well, yes, I don't deserve them, but that's not really the issue. The issue is you don't need them. They're not relevant. So don't attach deservability to the idea that you can't have everything that's not relevant to you. That makes no sense.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that help clarify a little bit this idea?
Yeah, it does. And
And?
I would ask that perhaps if I may hear you more, and so as I journey through this terrain, I can...
We are always, along with many other beings, spirit guides, we are always sending everything it is possible for us to send to help all of you.
Okay.
If you're not receiving it, it's not because we're not sending it.
No, I can feel it.
All right.
Yeah.
Then open up to more of it and understand that when you do, you will know you always have guidance, you always have help, you are never alone, you are never lost. And allow yourself to know that as a fact, so that if you become confused, you can sit for a moment in neutral energy and just let yourself feel the connections that are there and know that you can never really be lost, even when you pretend that you are.
Thank you.
It's an illusion. It's a sham. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You can't be lost. It's a sham. It's an experience. That's real. But it's not empirically true. You can never actually be out of control. You can use your control to make it seem as if you are, but you never actually can be. You can never be disconnected from creation. You can use your free will to make it seem as if you are, but you never actually can be disconnected. If you really were disconnected from creation, you wouldn't exist. And you couldn't create the experience of being disconnected if you actually were. See the paradox?
Yeah.
Learn the power of paradox. Learn to see it clearly. And it will bring you back to center, because paradox is simply the recognition from another point of view that what appear to be polar opposites actually issue from the same center point. Is this helping you?
Very much. And thank you for just everything. I'm very appreciative, and I just want to thank you from my
If
heart.
you are appreciative, then we would suggest that you appreciate yourself that much more. All right?
Thank you.
It is no accident in your language that you use the same term for money as you do for self-worth, appreciation. You want to appreciate yourself, then you will grow with interest. Depreciate yourself, and you will be bankrupt. Look at the analogies you have set up in your own language as reflections. Yes?
Yes.
So, appreciate yourself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And may I ask about the little hybrid babies?
Nope.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.